Sometimes the ends justify the means, especially when they're tight. Philbin's powerhouse offense is back, and the Raiders should be scared as they are on deck for preseason action next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Hey Packers fans, this is your unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, and these are the podcasters you're looking for. One of these guys actually kissed the magical 13.5-yard line, and the other guy will challenge you to a game of pinball anytime. And now, it's time to Go Pack Go with your hosts, Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinrichs.
Hello and Go Pack Go to ya. I'm at Wayne Henderson, and you're listening to the show by and for fans of the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. And this is episode 157 of your Packers Fan Podcast. And tonight is August 21st, 2018.
I'm at Troy Heinrichs on Twitter, and you get a pick six, and you get a pick six. Man, what a game. And as such, we will cover what we loved and didn't from our 51-34 victory over the Titans this week. Get some news and injury updates. Plus, Ty Montgomery is running a program for foster care teens. Well, that's two jokes before the first minute is over.
We're also going to preview the long-awaited as a preseason game can be, Packers at Oakland Raiders matchup. And wondering how will things go seeing our beloved Jordy Nelson in silver and black in a couple of days. We're also going to share your feedback from 920-3PACK-GO and from email.
Any links or articles we reference in this episode, including some NFC North news roundup from preseason week 2, can be found on our site at PackersFanPodcast.com/157. What a way to start a football game.
Just when we thought last week was beautiful, I blinked and then there was a pick six and there were points on the board and it was a thing of beauty. I mean, you know, we have a few lowlights to talk about as well, but pick sixes, 2 in one game.
Yeah, I think if you take away the mental errors from this contest, and let's say you take away the pick sixes, right? So 51 minus 14, and you're not supposed to do math on a podcast, but that puts us back down to, what is that, 36?
Somewhere around there.
That sounds about right. 36, 37. So it's still 37-34 and we win. So I'll take that. But at the same time, 34 points on defense. Yeah, there's some things to talk about today.
We'll touch on that. But how about finally getting to see some Jimmy Graham action?
All told, all 5 tight ends in this contest combined for 9 catches for 106 yards and 2 scores. One of those being to Jimmy. And let me tell you, when you're throwing to 6'7", he's a monster. You can put that ball up pretty high because he was open actually on that. There's actually 2 things on that touchdown, right? First and foremost, if you look at Devontae Adams out on the side, man, he on the coaches camp, he is so wide open. And I am pretty sure like when Aaron gets a hold of this film, he's going to remember this play because he's got 2 viable options in the end zone if it goes off the way this is, because, man, Adams was so wide open, it was ridiculous. But I know that they were trying to work Jimmy into the offense, and because of that, he's coming across. And even when he's coming across, he's actually open at the lower throw versus the upper throw. But Aaron just goes, you know what? He's up there. He's a tall guy. Let's put it where only he can catch it. And catch it he did. 7 points on the board. What?
That
awesome
was
stuff.
A thing of beauty. It really was. And just seeing that action, like you said, it's a beautiful play. And if Aaron Rodgers sees that type of matchup again, I wouldn't mind seeing this exact touchdown every single week. And speaking of tight ends, Mercedes Lewis had some great action a little bit later in the game as well.
Yeah, and I think this is the one thing that we were talking about with some friends at work today. If you think about what the production value should be for Jimmy Graham in the red zone, I think you're going to see Mercedes Lewis more between the 30s helping out with the pass blocking so we can get some of these longer. I mean, think about all of the 15 to 20 plus yard plays in this game from the offense. Now, granted, most of those come from Kaiser and Hundley as the game progresses, but at the same time, I think Aaron had one of those as well. And deep threat is something we've been talking about, especially losing Jordy Nelson. And so far, I haven't seen a misstep in the deep threat game in the preseason. So if you can get Lewis to do more pass blocking in the middle of the field to open up the deep threat, and then you get down there inside the 10, Jimmy Graham comes in, boom, touchdown, 3 plays, good to go for me.
Another thing that's good to go for me anyway was the backup quarterbacks, especially this jostling for the number 2 spot between Brett Hundley and Deshaun Kaiser. They both looked pretty dang good again.
Yeah, I mean, Hundley still looks like he's got the form, but Kaiser is playing a little bit better this week. So it'll be interesting to see these last 2 preseason games, how everything kind of shapes up. If Kaiser keeps progressing and surpasses Hundley, then I think they keep 2. I think they keep Rodgers and Kaiser.
And that's all?
Yeah, and that's it. And then whoever ends up on the practice squad, depending on Hundley's contract and all that good stuff.
Oh, okay. Practice squad. Good, because I don't want to lose anybody.
No. But then you think about the other way around. We know how Hundley performed last year in the regular season. If Hundley and Kaiser are close, but Kaiser's just not quite there yet and just needs to learn the system one more year, well, then you probably keep all 3 on the 53.
Oh, okay. Whew. Worried there just for a second, Troy. But I like the sound of that, and I feel pretty good at this particular point going into the second half of the preseason, no matter who's going to be playing.
And it's interesting because you look at what Philbin has done so far. I mean, both games over 30 points. So you have to sit there and go, is this because Joe's back and this is the Joe style of offense? And we were used to this back in 2011, 2012, et cetera. And maybe the system and the scheme just wasn't set up for Hundley to thrive last year in that offensive coordinator package. So maybe this is a system that's better suited for Hundley in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I don't know where it's all coming from, but I'm just happy to see it. You can't go wrong bringing Philbin back because he's like a comfort blanket of offensive excellence for Aaron Rodgers and the team.
Well, especially if the defense is giving up 30 points. Just saying.
Hopefully that will be stopped once the regular season and the regular defense gets out there and we're not just being all vanilla.
That's right. Guess who's back again this week?
Who's back, Troy? Who's back?
Kumaro Uno. That's right. He was he was the number 1 statistical leader, obviously 114 yards on 3 catches. 3 catches. Now, granted, most of that came on that beautiful 80-plus yarder that he made happen. And I remember back on this podcast, circa 2012, 2011, when one Dallin Christensen would talk about the rack, right? Run after catch. And that play was Kumaro all the way. Nice break off of the catch, spun the right direction, pushes the guy out of the way, and boom, he's off to the races. So if we can see more rack again this year, that's a Packers offense I'm familiar with.
That play was, like you said, a thing of beauty. I mean, I know it's preseason, but I watched that play like 4 or 5 times because even though it's preseason, he should not have been able to have run that far for a touchdown. And it was just the energy, and Aaron's happy about it. Kumaro's happy about it. His parents were happy about it. We're all happy about it. Sign that guy.
Please. Please. I mean, this is like, I hate to say it, but he's, I don't want to say that. It might jinx it. I don't want to jinx it.
Roger that.
There have been other receivers in the preseason that have flashed like this in the past.
That's true.
I really hope that something actually comes to fruition for one of those, and Kumaro would be the one.
It very well could be, because this year just feels magical.
So far, because guess what's shown? I mean, coming off the practice squad, did you ever see Reggie Gilbert? 2.5 sacks in this contest.
I could not have called that at all. That was a pleasant surprise.
I mean, this is like, where have you been all my life? Because if you can do this from the outside as well as you're doing it, Muddy, then Mr. Calais Matthews, get him inside and clog up the run lanes, because the run defense was piss poor this week.
I don't know what was going on with that. Maybe it was the humidity. I'm not going to talk about any viruses that might be going around, anybody under the weather, but no, it was just bad.
Yeah. Run defense looked like a sieve.
But I'm positive that's something that's going to change in just 2 more weeks, right before that Sunday night opener against the Bears.
I think it's something that's going to change in just 2 more days.
That'll be nice, too. I wouldn't mind seeing things totally flipped when we play Oakland. One of the last stadiums where, till they move to Vegas, we have to watch an NFL team play on a baseball diamond.
Is that I think that is officially the last one, is it not?
I believe so. Now that the Chargers are gone from San
That's
Diego.
Right. That's right.
What I want to know is what happened to the vaunted punting game that we were so excited about just a couple of weeks ago. Was it humidity? Was the ball just stuck in the soup? What was going on, Troy?
My God. What was that one? 29 yards was that first one? I was kind of like, did he kick the ball or did he just kind of like push it off his foot?
Oh. Yeah, something was wrong.
Clearly, some jitters maybe. And this is fun. There's a lot of teams around town, and I didn't get a chance to look into this for the Packers, but a lot of teams in the NFL, the team they're playing in the preseason game, they tend to scrimmage each other during the course of the week. So they actually travel and participate in the opposing team's camp for the week leading up to the game. So I don't know if that's the case. I don't believe it is because I've been to a few training camp practices myself after games have started, and I don't remember seeing the teams actually squaring off in a scrimmage prior to meeting face-to-face, at least up in Green Bay. So I'm not sure what happened there. It's a mystery. I'm sure it will get rectified, though, because all camp, it's been all flying colors.
Yeah, it's an aberration, one time only. We'll move on.
And I know we touched on the run game, the run defense specifically just a little bit ago, but it was more the tackling that was the issue than it was probably plugging up the run lanes. I mean, the coach's camera made it look like they had the gaps covered, but just that sloppy tackling. I mean, it made James Conner look like Le'Veon Bell.
Oh, no. Which we did not see anywhere on the field.
I know. That's why I was like, that's James Conner, not Le'Veon Bell, right? Did check my program.
Nope.
Turn around, get the hair out of the way, out of the back of your shirt.
Yeah, you have to really clear these things out. But yeah, Steelers fans, super excited because of our bad tackling.
Now I remember I was out doing something, so I missed the first couple minutes of the game live, and you're texting me, and you said, Ty Montgomery fumbled the ball on a kickoff return?
I have no idea. That's the biggest head scratcher of the entire night. Why do they have Ty in there on kickoffs?
I mean, you can have like Ty Davis maybe,
right?
But not Ty Montgomery.
We need that guy for run plays and occasional play action passes or something. But yeah, did you ever hear any rumblings why we're experimenting with Ty in kickoffs?
Well, maybe it has something to do with just cycling through the backfield and trying to figure out where everybody's going to flush out. I mean, if you got Williams, you got Jones, you got some people that they signed this week. I mean, there's a plethora to pick from. Still don't know really what Montgomery can show because of the injuries that he's been tagged with. So I don't know. Maybe it was just something. Maybe it's an experiment. And you know what? Preseason's a place to experiment with that. I say experiment failed. Let's not do that again.
I totally agree, Troy.
Not to say that Ty probably can't. I'm not knocking Ty Montgomery in any way, shape, or form.
No,
I'm just saying there are other people like EQ or the other guy starts with an S. Totally blanking on his name.
Most anybody. I mean, yeah, we're definitely not knocking Ty Montgomery. We just need to save him where he is of best value, and that's at running back and occasionally throwing a pass his way. So that experiment, we got that over with. And like you said, Troy, better that we do it now and not maybe week 2 when we're trying to get revenge against the Minnesota Vikings.
See, I couldn't remember his name because it's 2 names, right? Valdez Scantling.
There you go.
Scantling. He's the one that him, Davis, Trevor Davis, of course, and EQ, they should be the ones that are fielding those kickoff returns.
And I have a feeling it'll be at least one of those that we'll be seeing fielding kickoffs this Friday night. Live. It's a preseason game that even more of us get to see live.
Well, unless I'm fall asleep first because it is at 9:00 Central.
But then again, if the Packers are scoring touchdowns at the rate they were last week, that'll keep you awake. Hopefully.
This is true. Or if the defense is doing those pick sixes, because those were pretty because they had to offset the 50-yard big play and the 2 touchdown catches from one James Washington who made the secondary look silly.
Yeah. Oops.
So not all roses, but 51 points is something not to sneeze at. That's a lot of fun.
Oh, exactly. Preseason or not, 51 points is 51 points. I mean, it was all high power, around halftime. I thought, if they keep up this pace, we could kick off, so to speak, our 100th season with 100 points. But then things did settle into a bit of a groove. So, okay.
This harkens back to a 2012 Packers game that I think you were at, Sir Wayne, when I said, hey, they're going to score every 5 minutes. And then we left in the fourth quarter and made it back to the bar in Appleton so we could still see the 2-minute warning and finish the game up.
That was demolishing the Bears, right?
Demolishing the Bears.
Jay Cutler, we got to see him get sacked like 7 times. He was whining about it. I mean, talking about it on the post-game show later on.
Good memories.
I mean, that game was magical. I mean, so many people in the stadium, not just a few thousand of us, but over half the stadium chanting, Bears still suck, Bears still suck. And even the Bears fans, a few rows in front of us, were chanting it. They're like, what can we say? It was a beautiful night at Lambeau Field.
Beautiful night watching Philbin's offense then, and we're going to do it again, hopefully soon.
And you know what's funny? I still have that game on my DVR. I still tune in to watch that clip and some of the sacks. Yes, I do.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, that'll wrap it up against the Pittsburgh Steelers because we got the Raiders coming to town. But first, got to get healthy, Wayne. Got to get healthy.
Every year, but at the present moment, it seems better than in past years, even though a few guys are banged up.
I think the bug has shifted actually a little bit west of the Mississippi. All right. So running down the injury list for us coming out of this game. Devon House, little questionable with a hamstring. Watched Money's practice from the sideline, little injury there, but he should be fine. Nick Perry, obviously, still dealing with the ankle injury. He rejoined practice after being lifted from the PUP list on Sunday, so maybe we'll get to see a little Nick Perry action against the Raiders. We have Kumaro, had a little bit of a shoulder issue. Per the report, the issue will require some rest, but should be no problem there. So Kumaro might be held out against the Raiders. That would be sad. It'd be fun to see Kumaro, Jordy, and who gets the best stats.
Oh, that game would be fantastic.
Even though Jordy's probably only going to play a series. Then we have Jamal Williams still nursing the ankle. Mike Daniels with the quad still. Trevor Davis still with the hamstring. He's not played in either of the exhibition games. No one's emerged in the return game in his absence. So hopefully he gets better because we need a return game, absolutely. Devontae Mays still with the hamstring. Aaron Jones will be suspended for the first 3, as we know. Kevin King, don't know which shoulder it is this week, but it's still a shoulder. So, yeah, usual suspects showing up here, but nothing too scary at this point.
Thank goodness, because we don't need scary. And you were talking about the fact that we need a return game. I know there's some people that were thinking that with the new rule for kickoffs that a return game is not as important. But later in this episode, you're going to break it down why a return game is still very important, even with the new rule.
I think it's better with the new rules.
Yeah, and you're going to break it down a little later in this episode of your Packers Fan Podcast. But for now, the G-Force, you rock, and you know it, and we love, love, love to hear from you. You can submit your thoughts into the show a few ways. First, you can give us a call at 920-3PACK-GO, or you can call us at 920-3PACK-GO. Our favorite method, okay? You can also go to PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback and get all the other methods of ways of contacting us, like brand new caller, Captain Colby Jack.
Hey, Packer fans, what's up? This is your homeboy, Captain Colby Jack from Ontario, California. And it was a really good game against the Steelers. But my curiosity, I have to say, we need to work on our defense as well, too, especially our pass rush as well. And my question is, for you guys, how confident do you feel for our season coming up for the offense and defense? And will we be able to get on the playoffs and head to the Super Bowl? Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're very welcome, and thank you. Captain Colby Jack in Ontario, another member of the IE here in Southern California. Great to hear from you. I'll let you lead off because you're usually a little more reasonable than me, Troy. How confident are you?
Well, first of all, I'm so glad he said Ontario, California, because I was like, Colby Jack cheese in Ontario, Canada? This is new, but they do make cheese out there because California is also a dairyland producer like Wisconsin.
That's true, and they try to brag about how California dairy is so much better than Wisconsin, but I don't know. I had those cheese curds. That's tough to beat.
It is sure tough to beat. Now, you know what's tough to beat? The Green Bay Packers offense. Right now, 2 preseason games in. Yes, I know preseason, but 2 preseason games in, 80-some points. That's 40 per game. I would say offense, I'm very highly confident on the offense. Defense, again, I can't comment because it's not the 3rd game yet. But at this point, pass rush, I'm better on. Run defense, I'm very nervous about. And the secondary is still up in the air.
Again, that sounds reasonable. I like that. For myself, obviously, I'm way overconfident all the time in the Packers. Like you said, the offense, no worries there. I think we're going to be just fine. The defense, I just need to see a real game, like the Bears game and then the Vikings game, to really know, because you keep the defense so vanilla during preseason that maybe in a regular season game we would have stopped a lot more of those runs a lot better. But I am 100% confident that the Packers are going to the playoffs this year.
Oh, absolutely. And especially the way things are going in Minnesota right now, I think that is even more likely when we get to our NFC North roundup in just a bit. I think the big test is going to be week 2 at home against Minnesota. I'm going to be at that game.
Woohoo! Yes. Go Pack, go, Troy.
I cannot wait for that game, because I think that game, that's the game with the Minnesota defense versus our offense. If we put up some numerous points on that particular defense, there'll be no stopping us this year.
And it would be fantastic to start out the season 2-0 against the division.
Absolutely. That gets you playoffs right there in my book.
Punch our ticket. The game against the Rams in LA will be but a formality.
Yes. It'll be all locked up by then.
No. Mentally and emotionally, yes. Physically, they still got games to play. Let's check back and see who else gave us a call at 920-3-PACK-GO.
Hey, guys. This is Andre in LA. I'm the mystery caller from the previous week. Sorry about that. First off, I want to say I'm really happy about the win last night over the Steelers. I was very encouraged by the offense. The defense in the secondary did look very much improved. The run defense, though, was not impressive in the first quarter. I think we gave up like 79 yards. But I'm hearing talk of like the Raiders possibly trying to trade Khalil Mack to the Packers, which I think would be nice. My only question would be what would happen with Clay Matthews, with Blake Martinez, who I like, and someone, Chris Carter from FS1's First Things First brought up a good point. Does that change the culture of the Packers, where we've always built players to the draft, as opposed to now starting to go after players a little bit more in free agency? As always, green and gold, I'm dead and cold. Love to hear your thoughts. Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go indeed. And I thought that was you, Andre, last week, but wasn't quite sure.
And we didn't want to give Andre credit if it really wasn't him. It was an imposter. So
exactly
thanks
right.
for clearing that up.
And how awesome. California Packer fans uniting on the voicemail at 920-3-PACK-GO. Good stuff. Good stuff. Packers fans are everywhere. You know, the Khalil Mack trade would be interesting if it happens, because I still liken it to getting Reggie White. I mean, it would be such a difference maker on the defensive side of the ball. And yes, we love Clay Matthews. Yes, we love Nick Perry. But these guys are big, heavy hitters on the salary cap. And with their contracts coming due fairly shortly as well, you got to remember it's a business. And if they want to play with the Packers, they may have to take a little bit of a pay cut. And if they want to make the money, they may have to go somewhere else. It all depends. I think it's a difference maker. I think with what we saw from the run defense, and then some stuff that's been happening over the middle over the past few years, and then with Jake Ryan going down, I think if nothing else, it's a 1-year deal at a minimum, just to see what he can do for this year, because it's like win or bust at this point, especially when you talk about the Rodgers contract around the corner.
Those are excellent points. I couldn't put it any better. So thank you, Troy, and thank you, Andre. Always good to hear from you. We'll recognize your voice from here on out. And yeah, if Khalil Mack, if something were to happen and we could get him, I really don't think there'd be any stopping us. Well,
your plan's still intact. I mean, he just jumps on the plane after the game Friday night and comes on home.
He just stays behind, leaves his luggage, and yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think it's...
But I mean, Gilbert's promising the way Gilbert played.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe you don't have to make that trade and you can save some of the cash and do some of the things with the draft picks that you have as they're coming up through the ranks. I mean, we still haven't talked a lot about Vince Beagle, like what's going on there. So I think we have a lot to still see on the defensive side of the ball, and hopefully a lot of the ones play a lot of the game on Thursday or Friday this week.
Preseason is so confusing.
Oh my gosh.
There was a game on last night. I'm like, what's preseason on Monday night?
So you got to get the Monday Night Football announcers warmed up, I guess. It's more for the booth, for the broadcast practice.
I just can't wait for the regular season. But this is going to be fun, a little bittersweet Friday night. We also got emails from Packers fans here. Heard from Stephen, Wayne, and Troy. Stephen, once again, checking in from Powell's Park, Illinois, home of the rival Chicago Bears. Now let's say it. Boo.
Boo.
Boo. I like that the Packers won big over the Steelers, even if we still had some doubt that they would win, which all depended on how the Steelers showed up and played. The best part is the Packers put the game out of reach, and that's one way to win a game. Score more points than your opponent does. You can't win a game if your opponent scores more than you do. Not even when we played the Lions a couple years ago. We were behind the entire game till time expired, and Aaron Rodgers threw that Hail Mary. It's the one instance. Those were good memories.
Such a good play.
Oh, I relive it all the time. Stephen continues. Now, next Friday night, we're going to be seeing something strange and sad when we see Jordy Nelson and the Oakland Raiders, and this will be a late night game. It's a good time for me here in California. I guess it is late for the rest of you, and I apologize in advance.
Rub it in.
It's one of the few times we get a good time. Well, only half of our preseason games are left, Steven says, and now are the two road preseason games, the Raiders and then the Chiefs, their own division rivals. Let's get a Go Packers Go, as the Packers and Raiders game will be aired live on NFL Network Friday night this time. So Packers fans, check your cable company TV listings to see if your cable company has the NFL Network and get ready to watch the Packers. And here's one. I want to let you field this one, Troy, because Steven says, and I agree with him, a little bit confused by the scheduling, as the NFL loves to give teams that had a winning season before a harder schedule and the teams that had a losing season an easier schedule. But how can that be when there's a lot of rival teams that are playing the same teams?
Well, the scheduling is just what the scheduling is. That's why they went to this model that they did. So you play your 6 games in the division, and that's going to shake out however it shakes out. Sometimes you have a weaker division. Sometimes you have a stronger division. And then when you think about how the cycle of rotation goes, so this year we're obviously going to be playing the NFC West.
Yes.
And the NFC West last year was super competitive. Seahawks, Rams, Niners even towards the end of the season. So because those teams had better records last year, you get a little bit of a harder schedule. Are they better teams this year? No. So I don't really think that has any bearing on whether or not you have a strong schedule or weak schedule coming into the season. I think it all depends on where everybody shakes out at the end of the preseason schedule. That gives you a better indication if the schedule is weak or strong personally. But it just the way it works out. If you finish first in your division, you're playing against the first place team in another division that you're on that rotation with as well. So it's just the way it happens and the way it shakes out. And I think that it just, for some reason, that parity has always been there, that if you're on the top one year, you're on the bottom one year. And if you're on the bottom one year, you're on the top. So I think that's the nice thing that keeps the NFL every single week exciting and interesting, because you never know how it's going to shake out.
And the part that gets me is the fact that, you hear all the announcers on TV and stuff talking about how so-and-so has the hardest schedule of the year, which there's no real telling. I mean, the teams that may have won a lot of games last year may stink this year, and vice versa. Like the Vikings. The only reason the Vikings won the division and went into the playoffs is because they broke Aaron Rodgers. We were in first place in that division well in hand before that happened. So it's all a thing. And, it'll all be fixed if they ever go with Troy's 19-game schedule.
Yes, I agree. And that's the other part of the factor, too. You got to play 4 AFC games. Those AFC games could be against a division that was also very strong. So it all just depends on the card you draw that year in order to make that happen.
So we just need to win. Steven wraps up by saying, always remember, no matter where you are, go Packers go. And I can't wait to hear the podcast when you drop the Packers win over the Steelers talk and preview the game against the Raiders, which we're actually doing right now. How meta is that? I hope you're enjoying it. And hopefully it'll be a win over Jordy Nelson, which is sad to say, but we have to root for the Packers. Thanks again. I don't plan to miss any episodes of the Packers Fan Podcast this year. And Steven, go Pack, go back at you.
Even if we release 72 of them at once.
We apologize for the glitch that may have affected some of your podcast players, depending on the settings that you had in place. We switched the feed to a faster, more secure, more reliable feed, and a few people let us know that they got 72 brand new episodes of the Packers Fan Podcast today, though they were all old episodes, except for this one, which is actually really a new one. That's so confusing.
So, yeah, thank you for your patience. All is good now.
It was a one-time thing.
One-time thing. And you can always go to PackersFanPodcast.com and get the episodes in order there anyway, so you know which one is always the current one, because it's always at the top.
And it's episode 157 right now, 157, and moving upward.
That's right. And we got more email coming in from Caleb Fisher. Hey, Packer family, I'm up here, and I just wanted to say that our green and gold looks so great in the game versus the Steelers. I was really impressed with the interception on the first play of the game. One thing I really enjoyed were how great both of the quarterbacks looked. All the quarterbacks looked in the game. I can't wait for the regular season to start, and no matter what, go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go, Caleb. Bleed green and gold till dead and cold. Morbid, but very colorful. Now,
it's always a visual. Always a visual.
Yes, it is. I don't know if that's a special type that's, when they need blood for a blood drive, if green and gold blood, obviously it's more valuable, but we won't dig into that.
There is such thing as called the golden blood. That is a real thing, actually.
Where? Just in Wisconsin?
No, it's a rare, very rare blood type. But if you take this blood type plus the RH factor in the blood, there's only a handful of people that have it around the world. You could look it up. It's a true thing. Golden blood.
Troy Heinrich's dropping the knowledge on us. I'll look that up later when I'm done with the podcast. Let's dig in to the weekly poll that we put out on Twitter at Packers Fan Pod and in our Packers Fan Podcast community Facebook group. This week, the day after the game, asked you, Packers fans, what player earned the most fist pumps from you during our big preseason win over the Steelers?
Kumaro Uno.
I love that nickname. Well, you are not alone in that statement, Troy, because Jake Kumaro Uno, got 59% of the votes this week. I mean, he got a higher percentage than the Packers got points.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Tremont Williams coming in second with 23% of the votes. Deshaun Kaiser got 10% of the fist pumps, and Mason Crosby got 8% of the fist pumps. All had great showings. Plus, Phil gave us a write-in vote for Reginald A. Gilbert.
Oh,
where have you been?
Now 2.5 sacks, and he's all Reginald.
Well, I love it.
I love it too. And Mason Crosby, man, how great. 50 yarders, it's like nobody's business.
Guys, money. Highest scoring Packer in history, right?
Keep it coming. And then over in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group at packerscommunity.com, our good friends from the UK chiming in. Brett Connor said, great to see the offense hitting it off and scoring. They look like they're getting along well, although I would have to question the defense allowing 34 points, especially the run defense. 27 attempts, 151 yards, 5.5 yards per carry. That's right. Every 2 plays is a first down if they run the ball. That is a lot to give up. I know it's only preseason, so maybe this gives the coaches something to think about. But all in all, great to see the Packers go 2-0 in the preseason. Regular season cannot come fast enough. Go Pack, go from the UK.
Excellent, Brett. Thank you. And Marty Dixon agrees. We were getting gashed badly by the run, which I think that's the short and sweet way of putting it. Kim McKinney in Texas. The defense was off and on. The run defense was terrible. Yep. Plus, other aspects of the game looked good, though. Overall, for a preseason game, I think the Packers looked pretty darn good.
And Dawn from Texas as well, checking in. Granny Cheese herself. If they keep making those kinds of touchdowns during the season, they will go all the way. Our Packers are looking good. Go Pack Go.
Oh, go Pack Go indeed, Granny Cheese. Thank you so very much. Check out these conversations and a lot more happening in our Facebook group, PackersCommunity.com. The other things people are talking about is back to school Packers fashion, NFC North chatter, and smack talk. Fan guesstimates on what the Packers' 2018 season game-winning record may be, and more. Again, check it all out at PackersCommunity.com.
That's right. MVP time. We are here to take a pause and say thank you to the people that make this podcast possible. And we do that by having awesome levels of value for value. That's right. If you find value in this show, we just hope that you give us a little something back in honor of the greats that played for the Green Bay Packers, like our $4 Brett Favre level. That's right, $4 a month. Just want to say a big thanks to Jeff Summerfield, and then our lifelong Packers dedication to Randy Westgame up there in Wausau. Bryant is also coming in at the $4 level, and of course the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics. They never give up, just like the old gunslinger.
Put her in the old vice. Also, Go Pack Go to Curly Lambeau, $1 a month supporters. In fact, we got a brand new one this week. Packers Fan Podcast Patreon supporter, Mr. Hank Davis from the TPE network of podcasts, including the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Fan Podcast. Also, Aaron Peterson from the Hollywood Outsider and Velvet Eau Claire. Thank you very much for the $1 support at the Curly Lambeau, the guy that started it all.
And we should give a shout out to one Mr. Hank Davis from TPE Network and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Fan Podcast for also being a finalist in the Podcast Awards in the TV and film category.
That is going to be a tough category. That's amazing stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Superfan Aaron is in that category. Now Superfan Hank Davis is in that category. I'm in there twice. So good stuff. Good stuff.
At the end of the night, I think that one of my friends will be happy.
It's kind of like when you're in a NFC Championship game. There's 4 out of that many chances for you to win the Super Bowl, too.
Ooh, that's deep.
We've been there before. We can do it again.
I can't wait for the NFC Championship game this year, especially if it's a Lambeau Field.
Absolutely, because we'll be going. We will be going to cheer him on and get him to the Super Bowl.
I will find a way. I may be freezing, but I'll be going.
Well, just remember, you could go to a game at Lambeau Field, too, if you get all the way up to the Reggie White level. That's our $92 level if you sponsor for 6 months. But any level that you want to choose, we got great kind of giveaways and things you can do. Like if you want to say the Go Pack Go at the end of the episode, if you want to get a cool T-shirt, or even just be a host on the show, and you can actually take my chair or Wayne's chair for a week. You can do that all if you head on over to PackersFanPodcast.com/support. And there'll be all the different levels there for all the great players like Willie Wood and a few others. So definitely check those out.
And someday when Kumaro goes into the Packers Hall of Fame, we'll have to make a special custom category for his price level as well. But
that's right.
In the meantime, thanks again to Hank, Aaron, the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics, Bryant, Randy, Jeff, and Velvet for your awesome support of the show. Thank you so very much.
We super appreciate it. Well, in other news around the Packers community, like we mentioned, Ty Montgomery will be partnering up with Life Church to launch a program for foster care teens. The new program is being launched in the area to help the children transition into successful life as they age out of the system. Ty Montgomery will be working with the church in De Pere specifically to get the program started, and they're hoping to have it started by this fall. In the first year of Accelerate Green Bay, 8 teens will participate per class, one group of 8 in the fall and another in the spring. The original program and curriculum was established by Alan Griffin in Daytona Beach, Florida. Through the 16-week program, Sonny Hennessy, one of the lead pastors at the church, said that the participants will leave with a better understanding of how to live on their own, and they will also receive a car and assistance in finding a job and apartment to get them started. If you want to see more about this story, which was brought to us by Fox 11, you can go ahead and look for that link in our show notes at packersfanpodcast.com/157.
Cool. Like it.
And you mentioned earlier, Wayne, that we have some new kickoff rules this preseason. So I thought maybe we should break it down for those that might not be as into the behind-the-scenes workings of the NFL like we are.
Yeah, do it, Troy, because every time they tinker with the kickoffs, I have to relearn my entire ritual.
Well, this one is a little bit tricky to understand. So they haven't changed where the kickoffs are going to start from. So that's the thing. Kickoffs still come from the 35, I do believe. The big difference comes in several facets as laid out by the competition committee. And the reason for these changes is the key. The reason for these changes is the NFL kickoff is actually noted as like the most horrific play in the NFL up until these rule changes came in. It's the most times when people can get hurt for a number of varied reasons because of the running up to the line before they kick the ball and getting that extra speed and running into people that don't even know that you're coming because they're trying to pick up the ball in the end zone so that they can down it. So all kinds of changes are coming because of the kickoff. So one of the most noticeable changes will be apparent as soon as the teams line up. Players on the kicking team have to line up within 1 yard of the restraining line, eliminating the running start. So there will be no more running starts for the receiving teams. On the kicking team, sorry. And then on the receiving team, the players cannot cross their restraining line until the ball hits the ground or is secured by the returner. Now, that restraining line is typically 15 yards from the spot of the kickoff, so basically that's about midfield. So nobody from the receiving team can cross midfield until the ball has been caught or the ball hits the ground after the kickoff has actually happened. Now, the big thing is that on the you might have seen this a few times actually. So when the kickoff happens, and if the ball hits the ground in the end zone cleanly, then it's immediately a touchback. So there's no more like running to go catch the ball or fumble with the ball, pick up the ball and try to down it with the knee, and then you get slaughtered by whoever came through the line the fastest. So anytime the ball hits the ground in the end zone directly, that is a touchback. No need to catch it, no need to grab it, no need to down it. It just is what it is.
Whistle's blown and get ready for 1st and 10.
Exactly right, from the 20. And then there's also the wedge. So they've, over the years, eliminated how many people can be in the wedge. And normally what had happened is that it was a couple people. So now you have to have pretty much most of the return team is going to be in what's called the setup zone. So 8 members of the return team's 11 players will begin a kickoff in a 15-yard zone near midfield. So basically from the 50, which is the restraining line, back to their own 35. All 8 players have to be in that space, which then leaves the 3 people in the back, so 2 people and usually the return person, to be before that 35-yard line. Now, those 2 people that are in front of the returner, those people used to be able to wedge or block one person with 2 people.
Right.
So they can't do that anymore. So now you can only block one-on-one on these kickoffs. So if anybody wedges, it's an automatic flag.
Whoa. Okay.
So no wedges. People have to stay in their zones. No running up. And if the ball hits the end zone, it's a touchback. That is the new rules in a nutshell.
And you mix that in with the new leading with the helmet rule that I've already seen a lot of yellow flags thrown for that penalty in a lot of games.
That one is just, I mean, I get the concept of what they're trying to do. There was even one with one of the Vikings players this past week where they came through and it looked like, and for all intents and purposes, it's a clean sack. Like you would know that this is a clean sack. He didn't lead with his helmet. Helmet was off to the side. It's the going, and I think this was the new roughing the passer penalty. That's basically because of the Aaron Rodgers incident, where if you tackle somebody, you have to roll off of them. You can't land on top of them with your full weight. Because I saw that play and I'm like, what do you mean is roughing the passer? Like, he wasn't even throwing the ball. The ball was still in his hand as he's going down. That's not roughing the passer. But this year it is, because he landed on top of him with his full weight.
So many new things to learn.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I think it's really interesting how they're trying to make the sport safer, which I totally applaud.
Oh, absolutely.
But at the same time, you need to have rules that are easily enforceable, black and white. So if he's in the grasp, it's a sack or whatever. Vic from Packers.com, he always had a really interesting concept, if I remember back in the day, about how the the quarterback can just spike the ball. So even if he's in the grasp, he could just spike the ball and call the play dead, because it would just make the quarterback safer. You wouldn't have the driving him into the ground and squeezing and all that other stuff. And it would keep, obviously, the starters like Brady and Aaron Rodgers upright for the entire season and not on the IR, because that's obviously better for the entire NFL financially, for the fans, etc. So some of those things I think would be easier to enforce, just a clear cut, hey, I spiked the ball, let go. If he doesn't let go, then you give him a flag. But that is not a rule yet.
Fair enough. And if this Friday's game against the Raiders is your first Packers preseason game that you're able to watch this year, be watching at the very beginning and notice how different the kickoffs are under these new rules. Because I think I heard that Packers president Mark Murphy even said that the kickoff is the most dangerous play. And if we don't make it safer, we're just going to get rid of the kickoff altogether.
Yeah, I mean, punt returns have historically been more exciting because of the unknown of where the ball is going to go. So I think
that was no more apparent than this past week.
Yeah, but I think this is going to be even more fun, because you really do not know what they're going to do. Are they just going to boot it and take it at the 20? Are they going to try to kick it short even and try to put it in that no man's land space between, the 35 and the 15, and then maybe get a chance to actually catch it on the downswing if you kick it up high enough? It's all really exciting about how strategy is going to play into these new rules.
I'm looking forward to seeing how it unfolds and less injuries. I'm all for that. That's a win-win, Troy.
It absolutely is. Absolutely. So those are the rules of the kickoff and some of the roughing the passer and helmet to helmet, or leading with the helmet, changes that are coming for 2018. So just keep an eye on it, and hopefully it's not too much hankies on the field.
My sentiments exactly.
Well, this week it is the Raiders on Friday night, late here in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Chicagoland for me. It is the battle of the quarterbacks, I think, for the rest of the preseason now. I saw Aaron was out with the scout teams, so I think Aaron's gameplay for the preseason is done. He scored a touchdown on his first drive, so I would say he's already in season form. So yeah, it'll be pretty much the Hundley versus Kaiser show now to see who's going to be the backup. So I think that's the big thing to watch, is just watch footwork, just watch progressions, watch which receivers they target and which ones they go after, watch their scrambling techniques. They scramble too much. So I think that's something that you can watch in this preseason matchup, is the quarterback play. And then run defense has to do something this week, because I will make a recommendation on the defense after this game, as I've been saying. So keep an eye on the run defense, watch what happens, see if they're filling up the gaps. Again, if you don't have the NFL Game Pass, I highly recommend it. You get coaches cams for the entire NFL football season. I mean, just really fun stuff to watch and just understand the game of football better. So definitely check that out. $100 for the year if you're in the U.S. So check those out. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, run defense, definitely something to take a look at. And then Jordy, he understands our defense, and granted, our defense is probably a little bit different under Mike Pettin. So, but he knows the DBs, and it'll be interesting to see what he exploits as he's out on the field against us. And if we can shut him down, that'll give us a good look at our cornerbacks as well against Jordy. But I think the fun story about all this is Gruden, right? Gruden's back as the coach after being in the booth. So I'm excited to see what kind of game plan schemes he's got going up against Mr. McCarthy, since Gruden obviously spent time stealing your thunder probably from the dope sheet in Green Bay for a while.
Spoilers. Well, I'm also excited to see when Jordy has the ball, is he going to be going through the dirt and trying to steal third base? Which may or may not be a first down. It's so confusing. Stop with the dirt. But then again, is this the last time that we may play against the Raiders until we face them sometime in the future in Las Vegas?
Very possible. Very possible.
Can you imagine? Vegas is just going to make it a party. of epic proportions. Good times. Good times. Well, let's go ahead, like Troy said, and dig into the dope sheet because Friday will be here soon enough. And again, we'll have the link to the full dope sheet at PackersFanPodcast.com/157. And although it's the third preseason matchup between the two teams in the last 5 years, it is the first time Green Bay has played at Oakland in the preseason since 2001, which in some ways sounds like a long time ago.
Sounds like it was a smart plan so you don't get hurt on the baseball field.
Pretty much. And going back to 2008, the Packers are 7-3 in the ever popular third preseason game.
Love it. Good stats.
Although the stats don't really matter, but it's still fun because a win is always fun when you're a Packers fan. And if and when Green Bay wins Friday night, it will be the fourth time in the last 5 years that the Packers have won at least 3 preseason games.
Also good stat.
Yes.
That doesn't mean anything.
And the Packers will finish the preseason with a road game against the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday, August 30th. We'll be back to Thursdays for that one. And some notable connections. This just in from Captain Obvious. Raiders wide receiver Jordy Nelson played with the Green Bay Packers. From 2008 to 2017, Oakland tight end Jared Cook played one pretty darn great season for the Green Bay Packers in 2016. And yes, it's true. Raiders head coach John Chucky Gruden spent 3 seasons on the Packers coaching staff, working as an offensive assistant in 92 and then as the wide receivers coach in 93 and 94. So the Raiders do like collecting former Packers. Read the full dope sheet at PackersFanPodcast.com/157. And with that, let's go ahead and try to predict things because there's no way we could have predicted what happened last week against the Steelers.
Oh my gosh, that is for sure. But I think my margin of victory was 15 points, and it ended up being 17 points, so I think I was the closest.
You were in that respect. Always good at putting a good spin on things. I love it.
I just want to go first because you always pick a win, so I just want to have the drama of will Troy pick a loss this week?
Define always.
Always. That means every single episode, 157 of them. Just wait till next week. Just wait till next week when we can do the predict how many wins the Packers will have this season, Wayne. I bet you can guess what he's going to say.
Spoilers.
I predict not as high-powered of an offense this time around since we won't have the ones out there most likely for a good chunk of the game. So I'm going to say Packers 33, Raiders 24.
That's still a pretty big win. 9 points on the road.
That's right. 9 points on the road.
Not too shabby.
3 50-yard plus Mason Crosby field goals.
Go Mason, go. Go Pack, go. I'm calling for a Packers victory, but a very close one. For whatever reason, maybe it's because we're on the road, maybe because of all of the Jordy stuff. I do think we're going to win, but it's going to be close. 31-28. I think we're just going to win by a field goal. Thank you, Mason Crosby, in advance for your help in that.
Sounds good. And it is Oakland, so pretty much going to be a nice night out there. 60 degrees, kind of that. I mean, really the Bay Area is the best in like late August, September. That is really the best time to be out there in San Francisco and Oakland. Just great weather, great weather.
As long as the Packers win, it'll be great weather. But I know what you mean. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting indeed.
Love the Bay in fall. And with that, we will say adieu for another week here at the Packers Fan Podcast. It's unofficial, and it's not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers. However, if you know someone that can make that happen, just tell them to email us at media@PackersFanPodcast.com.
And be ready for our day after the game Twitter poll at PackersFanPod. Also, you can go ahead and follow me on Twitter. I'm at Wayne Henderson.
And I'm at Troy Heinrichs. But you can also have some fun over on Facebook. That's right. Go over to PackersCommunity.com. Join the conversation, especially with our friends across the puddle in the UK. We got some Australian football fans in there as well. So make sure that you get in there on the conversation. Again, PackersCommunity.com to join in on the conversation.
And we want to hear your voice on the next episode of the Packers Fan Podcast. So remember to go to PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback to find all the ways that you can be part of the next episode. But with that, I want to thank you for listening to this episode and any of the others that may have accidentally ended up in your podcatcher this week. Thanks, and go Pack Go.
And I want to say thanks again for being here, but more importantly, for telling other Packers fans about the podcast. You can tell them that they can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, right from our website at PackersFanPodcast.com. Any way that you can get the episode would be fantastic. You can even take their phone from their hands and subscribe to the show for them. It would be great so that we can all get hyped and get ready for the 2018 season. Now, get ready for the Raiders, the black and silver of Oakland. Just don't get hurt on the baseball field, please. So everybody, really loudly, go Pack, go!